Exactly. Or at least that's why we all use images to hide ourselves on camera.
No one cares
Welcome to
about my butt plug proclivities.
yes.
That's a word
Welcome
a
to God.
Southerner should never say is proclivities.
Why not?
Not
That,
designed
se-
for us.
that that seems
Too
like an
many
excellent
consonants in
word.
that word.
Seems like an excellent word.
I mean,
And
I
church
understand it, I know it, but yeah.
and church. Apparently, YouTube screwed us on the title,
Okay.
so it's Thanksgiving again.
Okay, cool. I mean, it is almost Thanksgiving again, so I mean, it's fitting, and we have a lot to give thanks for.
Man, Tim Curry is a fucking
It says
treasure.
the right title up top.
Right, but not on the live stream because I just pulled up the live stream.
Oh, well, I mean, if anybody was watching it, I'd be worried about that. But
I mean, but
I
what if
almost
people
said
are
we could
watching?
just abandon doing the show and fucking with StreamYard and just getting a Discord call at the end of the week.
I mean,
That would be
we
more fun. You wouldn't stay very long after the copious amounts of Jew jokes from Ayrton, but
mm, mm. So anyway, uh, yeah, we got a show. We didn't have a show last week because of technical difficulties related to StreamYard's wanting us to pay money for something. And I mean, I don't want it to come off sounding bad, but I don't want to pay tens of dollars a month for tens of audience a week. That
Okay,
get
seems like
that.
a bad
okay,
investment.
okay. You guys might know this, you might not know this, but some time ago, there was a competition. They basically have one annually to name the various ages or generations, well, like, where do they come up with those stupid names like the silent generation? They literally have contests for this. The
Yeah,
19th century one was the Gilded Age, and in fact, to the best of my
the
knowledge,
Gilded Age that checks out.
no, gilded, not gelded, reprobate.
I said
uh
what I said.
yeah, the thing is that they, to the best of my knowledge, I didn't find a better one, although I've heard argument that we
I
live
just
in
gave you a better one.
although I've heard argument that we live in, like, the information age, or the digital age, what have you. And everybody, 20ish, 30ish years ago had this idea of what the internet was going to do, how it was going to make the world a better place. And obviously we've seen what the world has turned into with the internet. I honestly think, like, we could call this either the propaganda age, or the age of extremism, or, just as a fun one here, the age of corporate exploitation. Because quite literally, it's not that they're offering us a service, and not even a service that we need, but there is something intrinsically predatory about StreamYard's billing procedure, which is why we haven't just taken the hit and paid them for it,
It's
right?
true. It's true.
And oddly enough, I think this is a great segue, since we're 3 minutes in, even though we're hoping Ayrton shows up anytime soon here. Do you want to talk about TwitchCon and other predatory practices?
Oh, that'll be good for you guys to get into while I saute this onion.
Oh,
Well,
sounds good.
actually, I got a lot of other stuff that is more pressing that church can also saute an onion with because
Okay, so
I
more,
saw.
more pressing than what I brought up.
Well, no, it's just that
Okay.
the whole thing with TwitchCon is kind of fluid. There's a lot of he
Yes.
said, she said situations, and a
Well,
lot
yes,
of people
but
making fun of Hassan Piker.
well, I mean, they were making fun of Hassan before he zapped his dog, but what I was what I was
I mean,
getting
there are
at.
people at TwitchCon cosplaying as Hassan and his dog.
Oh, wow. No, what I was referring to specifically was the young woman that got assaulted and had to be protected by her own security people, because Twitch's security people wouldn't do anything.
Well, no,
This,
no,
but the reason it's relevant, the reason I brought it up, was because she's asserted the only reason she showed up is she was told if she didn't do this bit, they'd
no,
shut down her show.
Joe, you missed it. You missed out. So the saga started way before this when
Yeah.
she did a promotional deal, and
Yep.
one of the fans raped her, which is not a good time.
Not a good time. No.
so she had to hire security, and security at TwitchCon aggressively responded to somebody trying to violate her space,
Yep.
and TwitchCon promptly banned that security guard for life from Twitch events and functions. And then Twitch told her that it's unclear whether they mean her show, and her show's not solely on Twitch,
Yeah.
but whether it was her being deplatformed from Twitch, or I don't know what the deal was specifically on that because it's
Right.
unclear. But she showed up to TwitchCon, and somebody came up on her, grabbed her. It's
Yeah.
unclear if there was a knife involved, or if it was a pin or a hypodermic needle.
Okay, but what was she wearing?
Clothes, a
Oh.
shirt, and a
Thank you.
skirt.
Stay classy. Carry on, Larry.
And yeah, she also had to do a show after the meet and greet where she got greeted in a way she was not comfortable with.
Right. But here's the thing. All of it.
Meanwhile, the CEO of Twitch was fondling another female creator at TwitchCon.
Oh boy. I only bring it up because it seems to me like Twitch's administrative practices are extremely predatory.
Well,
I'm not saying that StreamYard
Was
is
this
going to.
before or after he threw a woman on her head?
that was I mentioned the woman on his head as a groping incident where because he groped her and then dropped her on her head.
Look, I'm not saying that StreamYards is going to grope us. I am going to say, however, that Ayrton has the world's largest micro penis, and he can go first.
And Twitch's administration for their safety team is based in Egypt.
Yeah, that's the part that I noticed. Yes, a part of the Muslim world widely renowned for its forward-thinking policies on human and especially female rights.
And also their dislike for canines.
Which brings us back to Hassan Piker zapping his dog like a piece of shit.
But
which apparently he is now walking through a riot and or protest. Is there a difference anymore?
I mean, No Kings was relatively calm. But
can we just bring up real quick how his uncle has advocated for bestiality in the past?
I had not heard about that. That is even more concerning.
Yeah, we
Was
know
the
what
dog?
we know what
The dog was trying to get off of the pad to tell people, call the police, get me out of this house.
But I saw some content, and I want to talk about some stuff, and I want to talk about some stuff that I actually conferred with a source on, and that is Tron Ares, or Tron Errors, if you want to call it.
That sounds legit.
So they had Tron Legacy, which didn't do well because none of the Tron projects do well. They're video games that are very okay. They have a cartoon that I hear good things about, and I might actually watch. But the original Tron movie, which was kind of innovative and a breakthrough with animation, it didn't do well. But it sold well on home video, which doesn't exist anymore.
Let's be really clear about this, because this was a thing. My old man had no discernment. He consumed whatever came path his way. If it was science fiction, like it was great.
Mm-hmm.
My mom didn't care for Tron. I didn't get Tron, but like I like colors and noise because I was a carpet grub. Tron was always really niche. You either loved it or you didn't care. Not hated it, didn't care. Because it did not stand out next to all of the other Star Wars era cash-in sci-fi movies. Because at the exact same time as Tron, what else have you got? You got the first Star Wars. You got Starfighter. You got.
I was in the kitchen, but I think I misheard you. What I thought you said was you either liked it or you didn't care. What I think you meant to say was you either liked it or you were wrong.
Yes, Church. You can like it and be wrong. Moving on.
So Tron Ares. So Tron Ares came to be produced by two things. There were two people who had a contractual obligation for a Tron movie.
Actually, Larry, let me just say this to put this to bed. Church, you're correct. I do like the best version of Tron. Reboot was awesome.
I mean, that's a good perspective there. But So the guy involved with producing the original Tron Legacy had a golden parachute, and part of his golden parachute was to get a new Tron movie made. They also said, "Hey, Jared Leto got an Oscar. He wants to be in action stuff. Let's throw him into a Tron sequel." The Tron sequel got delayed from COVID, and Jared Leto got people to give him more and more creative control until it became a Jared Leto vehicle. And that was a mistake before Jared Leto's alleged cultic behaviors became a matter of public record. So, Tron Ares is, you remember the Kevin Flynn's son, who was the protagonist of the prior movie? He left for some reason. It's not important to the movie, but they use him as a stinger for the end of the movie. As, hey, maybe he'll come back in the sequel? Question mark. And you remember the guy who was related to the villain from the first Tron movie? Well, we can't get him back for this movie, but we can get another actor and have him be his son. So, Incom is now run by a diverse Asian woman of ambiguous sexual preference.
Holy shit! I passed out in my kitchen after he said reboot. Fuck you, Rune.
I mean, I was about to ask, how long do you think it's going to be before, in order to make a successful Tron movie, they just, AI pilot David Warner's corpse?
Well, they also did AI in the production of this movie, but that's neither here nor there.
No,
So-
I'm just throwing out there that people will remember David Warner more than they'll actually remember Tron.
So they brought
Fuck you,
about
church.
a technology that allows you to make anything from the grid real for 29 minutes. Now, I know what
God,
you're thinking.
that's dumb.
I know what
Wait,
you're
I didn't know we were talking about a porn parody.
thinking. We are unfortunately not talking about a porn parody.
Here's
That
the
would have
thing.
been much
This
better.
would be a great plot for a
Right.
porn parody.
I'm currently Googling a Tron porn parody to see what comes up.
Oh, I'm sure there are all kinds of answers. But serious question. Why 29 minutes?
You know, that's a good question that the movie probably should have answered.
Well, here's the thing. I'm a fan of Darkman. Okay,
Mhm.
Darkman is a classic Sam Raimi science fiction horror superhero bit, and they have a arbitrary clock where the artificial skin that Darkman wears is basically good for 2 hours before he's
Yeah.
gotta divest it. But it's a plot point that the
God
artificial
damn it,
skin,
you just set me up for the best joke in the fucking world. Of course you like Darkman, Rune. We've always known that. Fuck.
yeah, sure. But the thing is that the artificial skin is photosensitive. It's a plot that actually matters, right? And it's like, yeah, after 2 hours, it's no good. Okay, cool. So his entire quest, his raison d'etre, is to find
Yes.
and secure this a better skin. Cool. What is served in this plot that you're about to describe to us by being able to print digital media as physical media for exactly a half hour? How does
not
that
just-
help anyone?
Not just media, Rune. You can print food.
Right,
You can
but
print weapons.
right, but here's the thing. Okay. Let's go with that. You print food. It's a half hour of food. What happens when you run out of time? Does the food cease to exist?
Well, it turns into goop, but they're working to fix it. That's the central plot of the movie, to make things permanent.
So I haven't found a Tron porn parody yet, but the title of this one is "The Throne of Swords and the Scepter in My Ass."
Alrighty then. So, we then have the quest for permanence. Our main character, the girl boss, goes to Antarctica to a secret lab of Kevin Flynn's to get the information. This will become funny later when the information's in her corporate office. And they know it's in her corporate office. So the real question is, why the fuck did you go to Antarctica? I don't know. Then the bad guys concoct a plot to kidnap her and pull her into the digital world so they can steal the permanence code. But Jared Leto decides to become a good boy and save her and get the permanence code to do good things. Then the Black Witch lady from The Acolyte is the new bad guy who summons weapons to try to stop Jared Leto's character. Jared Leto's character eventually goes into a retro 1980s computer to get the code from Jeff, what's his face? The guy who played the original, the original guy
You
from Tron.
the more you describe this, do you know what this sounds like?
Oh, for fuck's sake, it's the dude. It's Jeff Bridges. God
Jeff
damn it.
Bridges.
This,
I
this,
blanked on his name.
this increasingly sounds like bad Blade Runner.
Oh no, Blade Runner has something interesting going on.
Right, but what was the primary thesis of the bad guys in Blade Runner?
That they deserve to become real humans.
No, you're overthinking it. You're trying to get an actual answer. You got to use the stupid, obvious answer. They wanted permanence,
right?
Because they were gonna die.
Yes, and none of these characters are going to die if they don't get permanence.
Right.
So Ares gets the code from Kevin Flynn. Then he beats the bad guy. Then he goes off to be Digital Jesus. And the good Asian woman is able to solve world problems by just magically making bullshit. The end. This is a terrible movie. It was ill-conceived. Basically, the only thing that was remotely interesting is what if we have Tron vehicles in the real world? But that was only 3 scenes. And nothing interesting was done with it except for in the final scene, which was in the trailer.
It was roughly 5 minutes of an interesting idea that then had no backup.
And the movie had Jared Leto play a person without emotions trying to become a real human.
Again.
I do not recommend Tron Ares because it's bad. It's very bad. But I'm going to tell you about something that's good. Boots. Boots is something that the president is currently being disagreeable with in the White House administration because it features a gay person in the military. It's set in 1991-ish. And it's about a young man who is in fact gay, who doesn't like his life, and he wants to make a change. And his best friend says, "Hey, bro, if we join the Marines together, we could be in the Marines till we get out." And he's like, "Yeah, but I'm gay." And he's like, "Don't worry, you don't have to tell him." And you think with a setup like that, oh, this is totally going to be about it being gay. No, it's not what it's about. It's about a young man who's confused, who has no good male role models, who has a toxic family environment, learning to become a competent, self-reliant man. The show really hooked me in when it was at the first physical fitness test where our main character and a fatty had to do 3 pull-ups. And he's like going, oh, I could just fail here. I could just leave because I failed. But he can't let the fat guy fail. So he ends up achieving his goal, becoming a Marine, and it's a really good show. It does touch on the gay issue in a little bit more broad of a perspective because there are 2 other gay characters in the Marine Corps there, but he realizes the way that they respond to their homosexuality is actually preventing them from being the kind of self-reliant male warriors that a Marine should be. The show ends with his mother telling him, "Hey, honey, remember how you thought you were 18 your entire life? Well, I actually forged your identity documents to get you into school. You're actually 17. And none of this actually matters." When he goes into the bathroom and he has a conversation with his gay thoughts, he's like saying, no, I don't want to quit. I want to persevere and I want to be a Marine. I've become a good person here and I want to see that through. And he talks his mom into signing the paperwork and he's a Marine. And the show ends with the announcement of the first Gulf War. This is actually a very good show. This is a show that features themes of race, but not in a way that's a parody of reality. It features themes about homosexuality, but without it being the central point. It's about becoming good, solid men through the bond of brotherhood and the military. It's a really good show. I recommend people watch it.
Sounds legit.
I also saw another controversial piece of media called Him. So
Oh,
you
dear.
know how Jordan Peele makes a bunch of weird race horror movies? Well, Jordan Peele is producer on this one, and I had not gotten confirmation as to why he wasn't directing this movie. It's about a young college football quarterback. He gets to train with the GOAT to become the protege of the GOAT. And things are a little crazy. He's getting injected with the blood of the greatest of all time. There's a weird cult of fans that try to murder him. There's brutal ritual violence, and it all comes to a head with where I think the movie fails. So the opening sequence, the main character and the GOAT are brought together as Marlon Wayans' character. I think it's Marlon is making something out of taxidermy. And they're doing weird things with saunas and ice baths and blood. And I'm like going, oh, they should just kill this kid and like taxidermy his skin. And the guy, achieves like a weird, creepy immortality. That was not the ending they went with. The ending they went with was that the NFL is white satanic power. And they were wanting the young man to sell his soul, and he instead murders all the white people. The end.
What?
I don't recommend this movie. Yeah.
Oh, what?
What part about that didn't you understand?
It was kind of a whiplash going from talking about football to fighting evil demonic spirits.
No, they're not spirits. They're satanic cultists
Whatever.
who control the NFL.
Jeffrey Epstein, one of them?
Jeffrey Epstein was not one of them. However, the owner of the football team did inculcate that his father had sold him into football slavery when he was a small child.
As one does.
As one does. I do not recommend this movie. It's not very good. And it's because it wants to be about something without really saying something interesting.
So
it's derivative.
So this is, in my opinion, the problem with Jordan Peele's horror offerings. Okay, and we didn't know it until what was it? Us, them, the follow up to Get Out.
Yeah, when we learned he only had one trick.
Yeah, the thing is that it's not just that we are presenting horror ideas that could almost work. It's that they are the least interesting permutation of those ideas. If you told me, okay, we're gonna have a movie about a young kid who wants to make it in the NFL through college, and he's gonna discover that his team and indeed the entire system is predicated on eldritch abomination deals with Satan, that literally you sell your soul to the game, that's actually interesting. I could go with that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But then to follow it up with because they're white and evil is like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Because here's the funny part. It works in the exact same way as a recent female-centric horror film. There are multiple horror films which are, you want to be beautiful. You will sell your soul to be beautiful. By the way, selling your soul to be beautiful is so much more horrible than you know. You would have been happier to just be plain.
Yes.
Right?
So, can we make a female-centric horror film where the horror is just she has to be a cab driver in New York City.
Well, no, they did a female-centric horror film where the answer was all the men are evil. It was called Karen.
I mean, there's several of these sort of films. And also on Netflix, I saw the third season of The Diplomat. Now, I know what you're thinking. I'm sure I would have remembered you watching a multi-season show on Netflix. Well, I mean, I did. And The Diplomat was about a husband and wife diplomat team who become prospective candidates for the vice presidency. And there's a long and elaborate plot where there's a conflict between the British and the Russian governments, where it turns out it's actually secretly the American government that's behind everything. And then it turns out that the person in the American government who is behind everything ends up becoming president. And so the husband of our main character is selected to be vice president, not the main character, which was the main plot idea behind most of the show. Which is part of why I find this season kind of disjointing. So they set up the conversion to the vice presidency. It's very unrealistic, but the actors are all so good, it doesn't matter. The president ends up having a problem because the CIA station chief in London has to avoid getting burned. So she finds out that the Russian mercenaries that blew up the British aircraft carrier, they shared the information that the U.S. government was secretly behind the whole plan. So they have to tell the British Prime Minister, who's a fuckhead. And they decide to blame everything on the dead president, which becomes a problem when the British Prime Minister doesn't play ball, and he openly exposes that it was the dead American president who was behind everything. They eventually get him to play ball because there is a secret Russian submarine that has a super duper powerful nuclear weapon in it, which the US government illegally steals from the British. And the wife realizes that her husband may have secretly stolen a doomsday device as the vice president of the United States to advance his own and the American political power. So I was all set to be interested in seeing how this female ambassador, who's not really a political figure, had a conflict with a more experienced version of herself who is a political figure. But no, it was lame and sucked and not very good. So I'm done with the series from now on. I don't recommend it. I also read some comic books this gap. Did you know they did a new Barbarella comic?
I
Ooh.
did not.
And it was a comic done by a comics gate adjacent figure, Blake Northcutt, who basically hid the fact that she was comics gate adjacent to get involved in a Batgirl project first, and then she's done a whole bunch of little things for Dynamite. The problem is that they're doing a PG-13 Barbarella comic.
What?
That
Yeah.
is wildly off base.
It is, and I wasn't able to pick up issue 1 and 2. The art was fine, but you have to have at least an R-rated quality to make a viable Barbarella comic. I don't recommend people get that.
Well, I could see an argument. It's a wrong argument, but I could see an argument by someone saying, but the original Barbarella is PG now. It's like, yeah, PG now. At the time, that was a lot harder.
I mean, I don't remember the comic. I remember the movie.
I'm talking about the movie. The movie was extremely spicy for the time.
Yeah, a 1980s PG is like a PG-13 bordering on an R.
Well, because that came out before the PG-13 designation, didn't it?
Yeah, it would be like 17 now, I think.
But like, I remember a Barbarian Brothers movie where I saw Boob, and it was a PG-13 movie. No, it was a PG movie, and I got to see boobs, which was pretty shocking for me.
Oh God,
A
Larry,
surprise boob
you
is
are a treasure.
surprise boob is always great,
It
especially
is.
at that
It
age.
is. And I picked up a Titan Comics Conan again, which is always a good time. This is their annual, and it's set in the timeline of King Conan. So, King Conan, ruling from the capital of Aquilonia, is in his castle doing what King Conan do, and then a random weirdo in a robe shows up and demands to see Conan. His guards are all like, "Who the fuck are you, and why should our king see you?" And he's like, "I'm just going to sit here until he admits me." And Conan does. And Conan's various ministers of state are all like, "We should whip this dog in the streets for his indignity towards you as the king." And Conan's like, "Nah, they'll be fine." And everybody, Conan's personal bodyguard, the head of the military, his wife, they're all like, "Bro, why is this weirdo in a robe here, hanging out in your castle, getting your hospitality?" So he tells us, the weirdo at the banquet held in the weirdo's honor, tells a magical story. A story about all of Conan's adventures, all the different eras of Conan, all the experiences. And then he tells a version of the story where he is in it. And he is fighting the Conan, the most Conan of Conans. And Rune, how do you think that story goes for the wizard?
It does not go so well for the wizard.
It does not. In the story, in the sort of dreamscape reality of the magic spell, Conan murders him in a Conan way, chop him with an axes, hitting him, and he vanishes in the banquet. And everybody's like, "What the fuck happened?" And Conan's like, "Oh yeah, I've encountered them before. I wasn't sure it was one of them, so I decided to play it safe because if he wanted to cause a real problem, he would have."
Yeah.
Because this wizard just wanted to have a story where he experienced a battle with the great and mighty Conan.
That's
Now,
something.
do you think that would work for me to be able to meet Putin? Just dress in a wizard's robe and go sit outside of the palace in St. Petersburg until he lets me in?
No, because Putin already has his own wizards.
That's fair.
But I've been reading this Titan Comics Conan for like 2 years now.
This is probably the longest you've been on a run of something and haven't given it up.
Well, I mean, I give up runs of comic books whenever they start sucking. And
Yeah, it's impressive.
this has not started sucking. I was on that Superman that they did before the All In initiative started and then the Absolute Superman started. I was on that for almost 2 years.
Were you?
Yeah, and it'll be a little over 2 years because of the distribution things on the Ultimate Spider-Man.
I thought you were cutting Ultimate Spider-Man.
I am, because they're canceling the whole Ultimate line.
Wow.
So, well, this brings us back to the question of, is Hickman good or not? Because I have a important
And cue
clarifying.
church.
I have an important clarifying question here, which is, why
Yes,
is Hickman
yes, he's good.
so obsessed with the Maker? Why is this the hill to fucking die on?
Because he created him.
And
He wanted to finish the story with the Maker.
no, I understand that. I understand, like, I made this thing, I want to finish it. It's super cool, guys. But the fact of the matter is that Marvel is a business. Whether we like what Marvel is doing or not, as a business is irrelevant. Nobody cares. The Maker is not selling. It's not working. Okay?
Actually, the Ultimate line has been selling.
No, the Ultimate line is selling, but not the Maker's storyline. I don't think
Well,
that has legs.
Here's the thing about that. So he was spending 2 years building up to the Maker showing up. And then Marvel said, "Nah, we're good." So Hickman got cut off at the knees by Marvel management. So that is not Hickman's fault, other than the fact that he had the same thing happen to him with X-Men. So he should have, not done that.
Should have perhaps known that Marvel was going to dick him.
And let me just skim here a little bit, because there's an article from the this came all the way from the president of Marvel, and the reason we didn't get the story that Hickman wanted in Ultimate Spider-Man is because he was told, "Yeah, you're not going to have the time to develop the storyline, so just do whatever." So Ultimate Spider-Man, that was selling like hotcakes. They're like, "Yeah, we don't really want to have you invest in developing any of these ideas in a way that might sell better." And what do you think about this whole fiasco for Marvel? Instead of following the lead of DC, which is successfully, doing their own alternate universe and selling a lot of units, why is Marvel wanting to, not make money?
I mean, if you're asking me, that is the Cohen. Everyone would love to know, why does Marvel hate money?
Yeah.
Well, they make more money off of just selling like the licensed IPs at this point.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Is everyone sitting down?
Yeah.
Because we've talked about this at length on and off air, and it's become apparent that no one listens or remembers from week to week.
Like,
but
no one listens to you, or no one listens to Marvel, or what?
no one listens to us.
Yes.
Okay.
Because Marvel going down the path that has been detrimental to their sales numbers and their ecosystem dozens of times in the past. The same path that DC goes down about once every 5 years now, rebooting their universe. It's not sustainable. We talked about this at length in regards to why Wakanda doesn't work for fans of comics in the 90s and early 2000s, because it just doesn't fit in the geopolitical landscape that Marvel built up.
Yes, Wakanda violates the principle of the world outside your window.
And not only because even if it didn't, even if it didn't violate that principle whole cloth, I made a point in a discussion that we were having with someone who we might try and get on the show because they had some interesting ideas and thoughts. But I believe it was someone on Twitter by the name of Magpie. And we were discussing Wakanda, and I made the point that if Wakanda had existed in the sense that it existed, how do you reconcile the fact that you have Uganda, Nicaragua, and then Wakanda? A couple of motherfucking countries that can't get running water, and then the most technologically rich country on the planet.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't, because that's the thing. Like, Wakanda, under its own creed, stepped into the geopolitical landscape during Civil War in a big way, with T'Challa coming to the table and being part of the Illuminati. And even in the MCU, the introduction of the Black Panther. But it did that before it made its own nation one of the standing superpowers, which is something that absolutely would have fucking happened if it were a real place. I mean, I know the idea of Africa being invaded and controlled by Europeans came up in that conversation, and I don't necessarily agree with that because, like I said, it's comic books. We're expected to suspend our disbelief. So, alternate history in comic books has been a big thing forever. I mean, Captain America didn't punch Hitler. A bunch of fucking rednecks from Virginia went over there and punched a lot of Nazis, but no boy from Queens or Brooklyn went in and punched Hitler. So alternate history is a thing, and for T'Challa, the king of Wakanda, to come out into the open. See, Wakanda does work in the sense of it stayed a cloaked city and was very selfish with its resources. And it was just randomly discovered by people that were following like old treasure maps and old wives' tales. That kind of works, when you had the original stories with Claw trying to find vibranium and like 10 scientists and like 4 of the smartest people in the world knowing it existed, and everybody else is like, yeah, it's all desert over there. That works. But the idea of that country not being a geopolitical power when it reveals itself to the rest of the world doesn't work.
So let me take this for a minute. I want to talk about the actual origins of the Black Panther. And if we had anybody watching who's a extremist, they'd be tearing their hair out and calling for my murder right now. The Black Panther is sure go with it. The Black Panther is the Phantom. Okay. He has a skull cave. It's a panther cave. He comes from a non-specific, non-existent sub-Saharan African nation called Taganda. We call it Wakanda. And if the presentation was that Wakanda is actually this super future tech environment, but it is hidden from the world, and only the Black Panther is the known face of it. So when somebody's like, what does Wakanda want? The only person you ever see is the Black Panther. The only person who ever speaks for it is the Black Panther. Nobody knows where it is. Nobody knows what it is. And the fact of the matter is that if you ask too many questions, the Black Panther will show up at your house in dark of night, Batman style, to tell you to stop asking questions. Yeah, that totally works because that's the ghost that walks. It's what if the Phantom joined the UN, right? Fine. But what Church has posited is correct, is that once it becomes a political power, not only are you now talking about a world not outside your window, just like Krakoa being a narco state, right?
A narco-terrorist state. Let's not forget the terrorism.
But the fact of the matter is that it should actually go the other way around, right? Wakanda should not be like, Wakanda for Wakandans, and we're going to ignore all those other poor little black people on the same continent as us. It should actually be like the nations in the world should be concerned because a superpowered super state has come forward to bring free healthcare, free water, free food. It's bringing into question the very idea of geopolitics in Africa. And that's such a more interesting fucking story than an Afrofuturist microstate hoarding knowledge because they hate everyone else.
Also, the whole vibranium story in Wakanda doesn't make sense in the way nations work or in the way religions work. It's dumb all the way down. The less details about Wakanda, the better it works.
Right.
But Church, however,
why you guys got UFOs that you fly around in, but you're fighting with spears? Like,
but
make it make sense.
But Church, however,
wait a minute. I want to. It's actually funny, Ayrton, because there's a stupid fantasy movie that does this same thing way better. Have you ever seen Krull?
I haven't.
Yes.
Okay, so there's an antagonist type called the Slayers, and they are literally stormtroopers in sealed environmental spacesuits. And if you crack them, they die because they can't survive in the planet's regular atmosphere, right? But
Okay.
they're space aliens in a fantasy setting. So they'll approach and they've got these weapons that look like rifles, but they're not, and they're firing lightning at you, right? And like after 3 or 4 shots, they have to turn them around because they're actually swords. right? But now that sounds stupid. But here's the thing:
No,
it's
it
like
sounds awesome.
it's 3 or 4 shots, meaning they have to go to melee because they can't keep shooting infinite ammo. If you said we have energy weapons and they're spear like because they fire energy, but after a couple of shots it's a stick, it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But they don't work like that. They're instead just straight up regular. It's a spear made of vibranium.
Yeah, no, sword rifle is badass.
Right.
But Church decided to take a trip into the past. We're going to revisit the Clone Saga. Are you ready, Church?
I am. So I wanted to. This actually started out as an endeavor to just read some comic books because I missed it. And the first thing that I read actually had nothing to do with the Clone Saga. It was very good. It was what the scroll, the Secret Invasion, should have been. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with the books that came out for Nick Fury and the Howling Commandos in the 90s and 2000s.
Yes.
Okay.
But Secret Warriors, the it actually is completely and utterly coincidental. It was just hanging out in my my library that there's something that I haven't read. So
I
was
mean,
like, I'm gonna
Church.
read this.
Church,
What?
I'm gonna have to put a flag of the play, but not right now. We'll do
No,
that
go ahead
later.
and play your flag because it was it was an interesting story that revolved around Nick Fury tapping into unknown new characters or characters that had barely been mentioned once or twice.
So yet again, a story that entirely hinges on Nick Fury tapping that. Got it.
Well,
Yes, every story
Church.
revolves around Nick Fury tapping that.
Church,
None of us
Clone-
would be alive if Nick Fury hadn't tapped our moms.
So, Church,
He is
It
all of our
literally
fathers.
holds the fabric of the universe together.
So, Church,
Yeah.
you're gonna mention a character that Joe was unfamiliar with. That is part of the title of the show, the Puma. And
Yes.
what was the Puma part of a genetic breeding program for, Church?
Oh, Baron Zemo.
No,
Wow.
no, he
Yeah,
was not.
he was part of Baron Zemo's
No,
deal, wasn't he?
no,
Or was that
he
Nocturne?
wasn't. Right, but the Puma was genetically bred to fight one particular character.
Oh, yeah, the Beyonder.
Oh,
He
wow.
was. Yeah.
Oh,
No, you're right. That was
snap.
Nocturne who was part of Baron Zemo's plots.
Yes.
So when do symbiotes come into
But
it?
let me finish with the Secret Warriors stuff that I was talking about here because I read this first and then I was like, I should read the Clone Saga. But
Oh, wait. So you're not talking about Star Wars Clone Saga. You're talking about the Spider-Man Clone Saga.
yes, I am.
Okay. I am now 1,000,000 times more interested. Proceed.
Okay, yes, I'm talking about the good one.
Right.
But anyway, the first thing I read was Secret Warriors, and that was actually really good because it introduced a litany of characters that either had only been aforementioned once or twice, or were brand new for this title. And it's something that I say we need more of in comic books if we're going to make a sustainable medium. Because, like we said, how many stories can you tell with the same character over 60, 70 years? But long story short, Secret Warriors was basically a team put together by Nick Fury, 3 teams, one of which was the leftover Howling Commandos, most of which, spoiler alert, sacrificed themselves in this book, like most of the Howling Commandos always sacrifice themselves in that book. But then there's 2 other teams of rogue mutants, which I will not go through the roster of because it's like 15 names and you're not going to remember and or care about any of them by the end of the segment. However, this is what the Skrull Invasion TV show really should have been. It's a lot more espionage, a lot more, government conspiracy and all of that good shit. There's a little bit of the Skrulls, but it essentially revolves around Hydra and the many heads of Hydra, so to speak, the leaders,
They had
all who
also
have
taken
differing
over.
odds.
If I remember, they had taken over Latveria.
They had taken over Shield was the main point of this.
So can I ask a random side question? It is related, but I don't want to start a huge thing.
Yeah.
But I'm serious because I've read old comics, very old comics in my youth.
Mm-hmm.
What of the Secret Invasion story would not have just been better had it been a ROM Space Knight tie-in and they were dealing with the Dire Wraiths? Dire Wraiths was a more interesting conflict than fucking Skrulls.
The fact that they never used Dire Wraiths outside of ROM lore, and ROM was no longer a property controlled by Marvel at this time.
Well, no, that's
It
the
was
primary problem. I know that
WWE.
they don't own ROM anymore, but ROM did appear and interact with Shield. Nick Fury was there. They were the psychic
Right.
subset of Shield was hunting Dire
And-
Wraiths. They knew it was a problem.
And Angela was a Spawn character for a very long time. Legal shit
but that
happens.
but that was in Spawn. I'm saying like ROM was a part of the Marvel universe in a meaningful way for
I'm
a
not-
very long time.
What I'm saying, Joe, is I don't
I
think
mean-
anyone who's read ROM Space Knight would disagree with you on principle. It's literally the legal issue that is the reason
okay,
that
so-
it happened
I
the way
mean,
it
So
happened.
I
we
don't-
still can agree Skrulls was dumb.
I also don't understand why
I think-
ROM was ever out of Marvel's control, because ROM was named after their toaster.
Well,
I don't know.
in any event, after I read Secret Warriors, great read. Read it. I'll do a full review on it one day, probably. I decided I wanted to keep going and keep reading something because once you get into the swing of reading some comics, you kind of want to keep doing it, and that's the great thing of having 80 something years of backlog.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I said, you know what I haven't read or revisited in a while? The Clone Saga, because I was talking to Mrs. Church about how Superboy at one point was a clone of Superman and Lex Luthor. And he and Ben Reilly had to have a fight during the amalgam situation.
We're really touching base on all the points here.
All the good points. So I was like, I'm going to read the Clone Saga. It can't be that long. It was a fairly short story. 2,000 fucking pages of Clone Saga.
By the way, Church texted me on Wednesday at 10 in the morning saying I am reading the Clone Saga, all of it.
Yes. I got through half before this show.
See, had you told me, I would have read the whole thing and been in here with you.
Yeah, some of us have to work for a living, Larry.
I do too, and I could have read it.
I promise you, I would not consider what you do working.
No.
What's the heaviest thing you pick up in a day, Larry?
Oh my god!
A 50-pound box.
Oh,
Yeah.
I am so upset now.
Full kegs.
Anyway. Yeah. My wife. No, I'm kidding. But anyway, I read the first half of the Clone Saga, and it took me back to a place that I hadn't been in a while, and I went into it with the full understanding that the Clone Saga is kind of the baseline of bad 90s comics, right? Like everyone kind of agrees that before 2010, the Clone Saga was something we just didn't speak of. We didn't talk about it.
They were using the Clone Saga to do a soft reboot on Spider-Man, as opposed to saying, "Why are we strangling this golden goose that keeps giving us golden eggs here?"
So I start reading, and I've got a list of points. Vamp for just a minute while I go get my list, Larry.
Okay.
I
'Cause you
still want to
see,
know
this-
what symbiotes are.
symbiotes. I merely used the wording that Church used in his thing.
It definitely says symbiotes.
Look, man, I just went with how it was spelled. Somebody requested a specific title, I use that title. And I've been struggling at parts here in the show because I have a small furry creature that decides he wants to chew on the cable for my headset.
Hell yeah.
God, I am so angry now. I really should not have tried to do my own research.
Do your own research on what?
I should have sat here and just nodded listening to Church while Church was talking
Uh-huh.
and been happy in my ignorance. But I decided, you know what? I'm gonna look up a thing because I've always actually been interested in the primary architect of the Spider Clone Saga, Miles Warren. The Jackal's a really interesting bad guy.
He's not.
No, he isn't.
No,
he isn't.
he was. He was. And then somewhere around, I don't know, 2016, about this time that, Miles Morales started being around and we had Spider-Gwen and they did
Oh,
Spider
did you
Island.
see the new clones of oh wait, that was before 2016.
Yeah.
Well, specifically after Spider Island, we have Alpha, we have Sibling Rivalry, and then we have the Clone Conspiracy. You know, the one where they tried to do character assassination on Ben Reilly by making Ben Reilly the fucking Jackal. Ben Reilly, who was supposed to be Peter Parker. Ben Reilly, who was a fucking prince among men.
You're getting into spoiler
Who
territory.
stood aside to let Peter Parker
calm
be
down.
Peter fucking Parker. That Ben
Calm down.
Reilly. These motherfuckers.
You're shitting all over my bit here, Ren.
Hold up. Joe. Ben Reilly's Spider-Man in the main Spider-Man book right now.
Well, no, because Miles Morales is supposed to be Spider-Man. We keep getting
No.
told Miles
No.
Morales is Spider-Man. Didn't you know?
No. Peter Parker is currently leading the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Shitting all over my segment. I'm gonna
Get the segment. You told us to kill some time while you were getting ready.
Jesus
I didn't say kill my whole fucking segment.
I didn't kill your
Assholes.
segment. I
You
didn't kill your
did.
segment. No, I
Literally,
made
this is what I'm talking about next
we made
week.
the horrible mistake.
Ladies,
I made the
you're
horrible
both
mistake
pretty.
of wanting to be able to contribute, so I did some research.
No,
Church.
only
I
I'm
looked
pretty.
into it, and now that I know, I don't want to know.
Well,
So-
we're gonna know
so the
again
Clone
next
Saga.
week. So
Fuck.
brace your butthole.
So the Clone Saga. Let's start with the fact that a
I've got
one-off
some-
story from the 70s, they said, hey, let's redo that, but make it a whole arc for like, what was it,
I'm gonna
3
start
years?
paying for StreamYard just so I can start muting
Hmm?
people again. It's literally worth the money. All right. So I've got some notes here. I wrote down shifting continuity between titles. It wasn't as bad as I remembered it being. You just have to follow them in chronological order, which was nearly impossible on the dates of release because different writers and different artists were working on different segments of the Clone Saga at different times. So something that happened 5 years prior to Ben Reilly coming back to New York might have been released 2 years after Ben Reilly came back to New York. So having it all compiled in an omnibus is actually a really cool thing. It makes it a much more enjoyable read. The 5-year time jump. If I'm not mistaken, they explore a lot of what happened later on in that 5-year time jump, but in the Clone Saga itself, the Jackal clones Peter Parker, the clone fights Peter Parker, the clone dies and then is resurrected, didn't die, and then there's a 5-year gap where the clone went away knowing he was the clone and Peter Parker got married to Mary Jane. This era of comics reminded me that one of the pivotal staples of weekly comic releases and monthly comic releases were the appearance of bit characters like Puma, Nocturne, the Grim Hunter, Dr. Octopus, Stunner. A lot of these bit players that you just don't see or hear about anymore because they're not major motion picture grabs.
You remember when there were several comic issues about Dr. Octopus romancing Aunt May? You remember that, Church?
I do. And they were even, it was even referenced when Aunt May went into a coma during the Clone Saga. And Dr. Octopus briefly popped up only to be murdered by Kane. All of the characters in the Clone Saga, by the way, murdered by Kane. Kane murders everyone in this book.
And then they did my boy Kane wrong in that Spider-Woman movie by making him Spider-Man 2099 and making him an interdimensional threat for no fucking reason.
So, some of the best books in the first half of the Clone Saga were the symbiote tie-ins. That's why the symbiotes are part of the title. I don't give a shit how you spell it, Ayrton. Fuck you, you're wrong. So Carnage is in Ravencroft with Shriek at this point, and Venom is trying to turn over a new leaf and be a good guy for the first time. There's a whole invasion of symbiotes that Venom has to let out a wail of anguish so that they'll kill themselves because symbiotes are apparently immortal. A little piece of continuity that we lost over the years. There's an incongruity because of the breaks in storytelling and writing of whether Mary Jane knows about Ben Reilly as a clone or not at certain pivotal points in the story. I thought that was pretty funny. There's actually great continuity with the Scarlet Spider's costume in the front half of the in the front half of the saga. So the Scarlet Spider doesn't actually get his costume until almost halfway through the Clone Saga. He basically steals a sweatshirt and materializes a solid red bodysuit out of some fucking wear. But he rips the sleeve off of a hooded sweatshirt with a spider design on it, and that's his fucking costume, ladies and gentlemen. And then he goes and gets into a fight with Venom, who's trying to be a good guy, but you know, Spider-Man never asks fucking question. So Venom rips the hood off, and the hood stays gone for everything up to the point that I'm at so far.
I mean, serious question. How many of Spider-Man's best outfits are literally improvised spider suits?
All of them. The Bagman and the Fantastic Four costume was the best.
Yes, the bombastic Bagman is the best.
So, there's constant waffling with Ben's confidence. That's a fucking tongue twister. Say that 5 times fast. With his confidence in being okay with being a clone. So, at the very beginning of the Clone Saga, before your 5-year break, when Ben Reilly comes back to New York because Aunt May is dying, Ben Reilly accepts that he's a clone. He intervenes in a guy he told to go fuck himself suicide attempt and turns over a new leaf on life, having new confidence and deciding that he's going to live out his days as a brand new man, just like Uncle Ben would want, because with great power comes great responsibility. And then the next time you see Ben Reilly, he's a fucking mess because he's a clone and woe is me. They didn't have a good feel on how Ben Reilly was dealing with being a clone.
Because they just wanted to get rid of Peter Parker because Peter Parker had too many complicated issues for them.
You know,
So
it's funny you say that because they attempt to get rid of Peter Parker 4 different ways in the first half of the Clone Saga.
Yes.
They try to clone him and kill him off with the clone. That does not work. He sinks into a level of despair after somewhere during the 5-year breakdown before he realizes Mary Jane is pregnant. And during that era of despair, a lot of his villains are literally like worried about him and go to offer him therapy, including Doc Ock. The Vulture introduces a virus that okay, so here's the plan that the Vulture has with the Owl. Because the Owl is part of this, the mob kingpin, the Owl. Here's the genius criminal plot they came up with in the first half of the Clone Saga. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, the Owl isn't sure whether or not he wants to turn over a new leaf and be a good guy. So he teams up with the Vulture, who has just sucked the energy out of enough people to permanently be young again. And in this juncture, he comes up with this crazy fucking plan, and the Owl's like, well, how are we going to escape our criminal past? And the Vulture's like, it's simple. We'll kill everyone who remembers us. Then no one will remember what we've done.
Isn't this all? Is this
That's the plan.
Is this the Vulture when he's also able to temporarily turn himself young off and on?
No, he's permanently young at this juncture.
Okay.
He's not temporarily doing it, sapping the youth out of other people. He sapped enough youth out of other people that he's permanently 21 years old again.
Right. Until he's an old man again because comics.
Right. So he decides to create a
My
virus
old gym teacher used to
that
call
he
it
says
sucking the youth out of us.
he creates a virus, and he says this virus is going to help people forget their criminal past by murdering them.
I mean,
How are we
it
going to
worked.
distribute this virus? Larry, do you remember how they distributed the virus?
I don't remember.
On the talons of birds.
This is some penguin level silliness.
This is peak fucking comic books, Rune. We got vultures and owls with a fucking lethal virus on their talons,
So
and they got Spider-Man, so he's gonna die.
So in a more serious vein, I want to mention just it's a little bit moving ahead, but it's also like
I'm 100% serious. This happened.
It's a tiny side note, but I think it's something that needs to be mentioned because we often talk about the shitty parts of the Clone Saga, but we're trying to talk about some of the more rounded components of this. The Clone Saga is also where we get the start in just a throwaway scene of one of the coolest redemptions in Marveldom. People may not remember this. There's a comic where Ben Reilly is feeling down, right? So he goes to a bar and he sits down next to Flash motherfucking Thompson. Okay? Who
That's
is
the completion of the Flash redemption arc.
right. Flash is
Hold on.
No, here's the thing.
Again, we're not there yet. Again, don't shit on my bit for next week.
I'm not
He
shitting on your
hasn't done
bit.
that yet.
Let me finish the bit. So Flash is sitting there nursing his woes because he's lost all of his opportunities. His sports scholarship fucking gone. He's not going to go off and be in NFL. He's working a shit job with no name, no nothing, and he's just lamenting that he used to be the fucking man, right? And
I
Ben
think you're
Reilly,
actually misremembering it. I think
I'm not.
It's not about. What happens in the first half of the Clone Saga is very similar, but it's not the bar scene. What happens in the first half of the Clone Saga is that Ben Reilly is scoping out a gym where Flash Thompson is at.
No. This is I'm talking about later when he comes back and he's in New York being.
No, this is when I'm talking about too. I haven't gotten to the part you're. That's why I said don't shit on my bit for next week because this will probably come up in next week's reading.
I mean, it might, but all I'm saying is that all of that future stuff we're not going to talk about Flash Gordon or Flash Thompson getting his shit together and becoming an actual decent character starts right here.
No, because again, if you'll let me get to the part where Flash Thompson's in a gym and he's coaching kids at basketball, kind of lamenting on the fact that he never went pro, but he finds full satisfaction in what he's doing for this generation. And Ben Reilly laments that he finally grew up and became an adult and started contributing to society instead of being the bully out for attention like he was in high school.
Well, then that just speaks to what you were talking about previously, which is why I was bringing it up, is this genuflecting between extremes because they can't figure out how fucked Ben Reilly's life is or is not because they did the same thing with Flash. There is I'm telling you, there's a bit where Flash is at his lowest and thinks he's got it shitty. And you're telling me, no, he was actually doing fine, and Ben Reilly thought he was doing shitty. It's like, well, are both true simultaneous?
No, like I said, it goes back to one of my first notes. There's just incongruity in the storyline because too many people had their hands in the pie.
Right.
And that's one of the, and I've mentioned this before, it's one of the most jarring things when you're reading a compendium like this that was written and drawn by different artists and authors, because you go from Sal Buscema to John Romita Jr. Both great artists, very fucking different styles.
And also, John Romita Jr., his style has declined over the years.
Yes and no. It's very much a personal style. So I think it just got refined to what he wanted it to be. Uh, because now I will say it's gotten lazier, probably because he had a higher page count to deal with and couldn't just fuck off on a page all day like he used to. But anyway, back to the review. Thank you, spell checker, by the way, for that.
She
I've
saluted
got
you.
yes, I've got oh yeah, the continuity of Ben Riley's costume, the Scarlet Spider costume, fantastic work by the by editorial, keeping the hood ripped off after the Venom fight. There's a certain point where Ben Riley takes a blue sweatshirt and rips the sleeves off of it to replace that hooded sweatshirt. And in the next page, is the hood is also ripped off, and they don't mention it. And I just like to think in my head canon that he's like, Venom grabbed this fucking thing. I'm gonna go ahead and rip it off now. But
that's a strategic decision.
one thing that I am not a fan of, because again, after having read the first half of the Clone Saga and having read comics for the last 20 or so years consecutively, I enjoy the Clone Saga more than most of what I've read in the last decade. So we'll see how it finishes up. But one thing
More
I'm
than
not a
Skate
big
Man?
yes,
Skate Man was pretty epic.
Skate Man was pretty good, but there's more of the Clone Saga, therefore there's more opportunity to like it. One thing I don't like about it though, again, I touched on this earlier. Kane is going to kill everything in this story, except
he's
Aunt May.
also
She just fucking dies for no reason.
and he's
She has a
later going to get
stroke.
to the
She wakes up. Hold on. She has a stroke. She wakes up long enough to realize that Mary Jane is pregnant. She talks to Peter and tells him she knows he's Spider-Man, and then she fucking dies. I didn't remember Aunt May dying in this particular era.
Well,
it
remember,
happened.
we were talking about Doc Ock and Aunt May for a minute. We need to clarify that because there's an extra spin here that before Aunt May started dying, Doc Ock was dating Aunt May.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, but
And
I was
the
I was
reason
about
Aunt May doesn't die, even though she straight up fucking died,
Also,
is because Doc Ock somehow brings her back
Can-
from the dead.
can we just talk about for a minute, real quick, how much Dr. Octopus fucks? I never realized it, obviously, because I was a kid. But between Aunt May and this stunner chick who I'd never heard of until I reread this, obviously I saw her the last time I read this. That's how little she matters. Just like Scorpia, we'll get into the Sinister Seven in a minute. But Dr. Octopus dies while he has a partner and lover named Stunner. Larry, can you bring up a picture of Stunner for the audience? Because I'm
Give me a
sure they don't know
second.
who the fuck that is either. But it's just this tall.
I'm just picturing Stone Cold Steve Austin.
It's,
No.
it's basically Titania. It's literally just Titania,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
but with a different name and personality, and she's very
But here's-
devoted and love struck by Dr.
here's-
Octopus. So Dr. Octopus
thing.
straight up fucks.
Here's the thing. I know Larry's bringing up Titania, but we also need to bring up a picture not of Doc Ock in whatever current body he's in or whatever bullshit. Bring up a picture of classic Doc Ock.
And this is
Okay?
the one that Kane murders
Right.
as well. But
Classic Doc Ock.
So here's the
Spinning-
question. Here's a question: does he murder her? Does Kane murder him before or after the incident with Katie Vick?
the what?
The incident with Katie Vick.
I'm guessing before.
That was a pro wrestling reference there, Church.
Yeah. Fuck you. Have we got Stunner so that I can move on? Because
I'm trying to find a good image that's not ganked.
while you're digging it up, I want to be clear.
Inner
What I was getting about with Doc Ock
Saga.
for the people, for the audience, is Doc Ock does not look like Manola from Spider-Man 2. Doc Ock is like a fat
Here you go,
German
Larry.
man in a bowl cut.
I got
Wait a
you.
second.
Here's your link.
Here we go. I mean, that's kind of small, but
It'll work. Oh
It'll
wait, no, I'll click on the actual image. My bad. Come on. There we go. Where we go? Yep, there. All right. Open image in new tab. There. That's better. All right. There.
Did you? There we go.
So this will
Yeah,
actually
that is
kill
much
two birds
better.
with one stone. Two birds, one stone. This is Stunner fighting Kane. So for anybody who doesn't know who Kane is in the Clone Saga, it is a failed clone of Peter Parker. I don't think we were blatantly told this eventually, but at one point there were 7 Peter Parker clones in one comic book.
Yes, there were at one point.
Yeah, there have in fact been as many clones as the plot requires, because there are in fact still unnamed spider clones that have been discovered posthumously and had to been like buried in unmarked graves.
Here's Kane. Here's Stunner. There's Spider-Man about to reach her boob there, which is a very good choice.
When we can see it, it's not actually on the screen for the people.
It should be.
And I just want to point out,
check your layout. It may not allow it.
I just want to point out, my wife is cute and goes, "Are all those clones? Is that where the Spider-Man pointing at himself meme comes from?"
There we go. Now it's up. Yeah, now, right?
But yeah,
you're very pretty.
So Dr. Octopus was murdered by Kane for attacking nobody, really. He was being a good guy. But when he dies, there's a short bit where his cousin is fooled by Mysterio to try and relegate some of Dr. Octopus's tech and inventions. And he enlists the help of the Sinister Six to do this, in which Mysterio sends an android dressed like himself. It's so convoluted, and it made me love comic books again, because as I was reading it and I saw the broken Mysterio bot, all I could think about was, I wonder, does he run on hate tapes like the Lex Luthor evil robot?
I mean, you should.
So again, interesting, stupid question. Is the Clone Saga to Spider-Man what the Weapon X program is to Logan? Because they are both long-running plots that are needlessly convoluted with, frankly, unsatisfying endings.
Well, here's the thing. You can take the Clone Saga away from Spider-Man and it doesn't hurt the character.
So
you can't take Weapon X away from Logan and still have a coherent origin for that character.
So, Church, do you also cover in this half part where Thomas Fireheart, aka Puma, buys the data?
Yes, that was like a 2 to 3 issue like insert. At one point, Ben Reilly is helping patrol New York City because there's enough work for 2 Spider-Men. That's what comes up. So there's obviously enough villainy going on. So at least 50% of the villainy that's going on, Spider-Man and Daredevil aren't covering on the street level. So
oddly enough, this sounds like it's an unimportant segue, but I think it is pertinent for newbies who are watching this. What the fuck are you doing? Who don't understand Marvel at the time. If you then ask the question, well, what about the Avengers and the X-Men? The answer is they were doing nothing.
Not only that, but this is too, like, Spider-Man and Daredevil were a step below the Avengers and the X-Men when it came to threat levels.
Well, no. What I'm referring to is if you were a newcomer you've only watched the movies, or you're only familiar with Ultimate, and you're coming into
Yeah.
old Spidey, your perception is, oh, so well, Spider-Man is the only guy available to fight these street level problems. The Avengers must be fighting really important shit, right?
No,
And it's
they
like,
just
no,
didn't. Nobody
yeah,
called them because it
yeah,
wasn't
no.
Avengers worthy.
The Avengers are literally back at their mansion in a pool having a party in the sun, sipping Mai
Because they
Tai.
can't be fucked.
Right, and it's like, but what about all this spider stuff and evil
Well,
and criminal
and what a
conspiracy?
lot of people don't realize is that at this point, Marvel had written themselves into a hole where they couldn't, in good conscience, have a cohesive universe where Spider-Man went and hung out at the X
Right.
Mansion every once in a while, because it would have just completely destroyed the Clone Saga. 5 minutes into the Clone Saga, Spider-Man and Ben Reilly would have been like, "Hey, let's go see Professor X. He'll tell us
Now,
which one's the clone."
now,
And
to
he'll
be
also tell us where the rest of the clones are, and Miles Warren, and he'll tell us how to deal with all of this.
now to be a little more fair, the X-Men were in fact dealing with mutant issues. Like, they were going to India to deal with a Kali worshiper who was going to destroy
Well, this
the
is
planet.
also the same time as the
stuff.
Age of Apocalypse as well.
Yeah,
so.
they were dealing with that. They were dealing with serious stuff, and like Daredevil is fighting the Kingpin because that's his thing.
Daredevil, at this point in time, Matt Murdock had faked his own death.
Right. Like, other characters were actually doing things. It's not actually like nobody was doing anything but Spider-Man. But
Now, Luke Cage was just being a bum and collecting unemployment. Like,
right, there are characters who right now the Marvel wants you to think are part of a cohesive universe, and they're all interconnected, and it's all very
they all have a
serious.
barbecue every third
And it's
Saturday
like-
of the month.
And it's like, no. Spider-Man was fighting for these streets all by himself. So when we talk about this idea that like they were fighting 50% of the super crime, no, they were literally fighting 50% of the super crime. And you can say, well, what
And who
about
was
the
causing 50% of that super crime?
13% of the population, the supervillains.
Right. But when you say things like, what about the Fantastic Four? It's like, literally, Reed Richards was busy doing science. He didn't even know there was a crime wave going.
Also, another guy who could have built a device that would have detected who's the clone and who isn't. Probably could have stopped the degeneration process. Probably could have helped figure out where the rest of the clones and Miles Warren were, and had this all wrapped up before 500 pages.
You know,
But
who
that's
else
why.
You know who else
Hold
could have
on,
done
but
that?
that's why that these overarching events don't work the same way that long-term storytelling used to work. See, I've got 2,000 pages of Spider-Man dealing with an internal struggle. He doesn't lean on anybody that's not part of the Spider-Verse. You lose pivotal fucking characters, and
Like, where was the Prowler during all of this? Because I don't remember him doing a whole fucking lot of shit.
he was avoiding Kane because Kane murders everybody. All of Spider-Man villains that didn't show up for good cause because of Kane.
Here's the question. If Kane was going to kill him, why didn't Spider-Man get the Undertaker to help him out?
You know, that's a good point.
But go ahead and hit the drums again, Ayrton. You feel better, Rune?
I do. as the non-wrestling guy making a good wrestling joke.
We appreciate the attempt, yes. But no, going back to it though, you get the introduction of bit players. We talked about Puma and Nocturne. There's Judas Traveler makes an appearance in this.
Who's back later, by the way.
Yes.
Also, wasn't Vermin in there for a hot minute?
No, Vermin, not yet. At least Vermin was a big deal with Nocturne's origin. They briefly mention Vermin when they tell you who Nocturne is again, who was part of the whole Puma thing. But the Puma shows up, and it's a nice little 3-part story where Puma has kind of lost the Thomas the Thomas portion of himself, and he just attacks Spider-Man on sight. It's kind of funny, and then he runs off because he accidentally hurts Nocturne, and they have to find him, and then he gets turned back into Thomas Fireheart, and everybody kind of lives happily ever after. Spider-Man doesn't arrest him because,
Technically, you can't arrest people.
right? He can't. He didn't web him up and leave him for the cops either. But no, the big characters that pop up in these stories, the introduction of the Sinister Six post Doc Ock, and then the Sinister Seven. I was reading the Sinister Seven book earlier today, actually, and there's a scene where everybody's kind of piled up attacking Spider-Man, and you just see a scorpion tail out from the pile, and I was like, the scorpion's not part of this book. That's how unimportant Scorpia is. The female scorpion character that's briefly a part of Spider-Man comics doesn't matter. No, but she has like 3 panels worth of 3 panels worth of appearance and 2 panels worth of dialogue. Nothing. She's not even really there. But they do make mention that it's the Sinister Seven while she's there. So the Beetle is there. Apparently, because Kane kills people, it's a good idea for everybody to take some of Hobgoblin's guns to go fight him. And I'm like, and they never did this with Spider-Man. Then none of them actually wanted to kill him, even though they're using bombs and lasers. But with Kane, they're going to use guns. Why don't they use the guns with Spider-Man? It makes no sense. They have no commitment to being criminals. These aren't Flash level bad guys. They don't have that moral incongruity. But anyway, moving on. That's about the halfway point. A little past it.
Also, how soon after this does the Thunderbolts happen? And Beetle becomes the
before.
hero?
Oh no. Well, Hammer was actually a big part. Hammer and the Thunderbolts were a big part of Secret Warriors. So, but before I get into that, another big point: after Spider-Man contracts a deadly virus and then is cured by Dr. Octopus of all people, Dr. Octopus is killed, and then a detective from Salt Lake City, Utah, shows up because Kane has framed Ben Reilly for murder. So the detective arrests Peter Parker because their fingerprints are the same. And then Ben Reilly says, I'll go to jail for you so you can be with your wife and unborn child. And then Peter Parker has to wear the Scarlet Spider's costume for a little while, I assume to sell more action figures.
Well, let's also just state Ben Reilly is a bro.
The Scarlet Spider costume is objectively the best Spider-Man costume. After the bombastic Bagman.
Well, all right. Serious question, and it's probably more of a next week question, but I'm going to ask it now. Just for qualifier, the Ben Reilly Spider-Man suit.
So.
The Ben Reilly Spider-Man suit.
Mm-hmm.
Yes or no?
Yeah, absolutely. Best suit. Seriously, I wasn't joking.
Not the Scarlet Spider suit. Ben Reilly in the Spider-Man suit.
The long blue running down the leg with the front panel of
the long spider half suit.
Yes, I liked it.
Half not. Yeah, I liked it.
I liked it.
It was really good.
It was a nice change. I'm glad that they eventually went back, but it was a good break from the web pits that were inconsistent. Even in this Clone Saga, the web pits were inconsistent. Sometimes he had them, sometimes he didn't.
Okay.
But no, the Scarlet Spider suit still superior, but
the superior spider suit.
Well, that just kind of sent me off into a little bit of a rage because I went off on a tangent about that earlier, but I think I've dictated enough time on this. Anyway, where we leave off, where I'm currently at, Ben Reilly is going on trial as Peter Parker. J. Jonah Jameson secretly funding his legal defense. Roberts is attempting to make light of Peter's character and give him a good defense. Peter Parker is anticipating a child who's possibly got a birth defect. There's this guy named Seward who we've seen all of 3 times and is really important. because again, we can't go talk to Reed Richards or Professor Xavier, so we have to create characters that Spider-Man can talk to about these things. And we didn't use Kirk Connors for some fucking reason.
Hey. They
No,
also
no,
didn't
He
talk
might
to Doctor
be writing
Strange.
because Kane will kill him.
Peter didn't talk to Doctor Strange either. Doctor Strange would totally have talked to Peter, helped him with his problems.
Now Kane might kill him. That's just the answer to why
Wait a minute,
everything
wait a
happened
minute,
the way
wait a
it
minute.
happened.
Okay. Mental image. We get the opportunity to write Spider-Man for just 5 minutes. Okay, they have to make one panel, one page at our direction, and it's literally Spider-Man outside the sanctorum knocking on the door, going, "Doc, I need your help." And Doc Strange opens the door a crack, and he's just like, "I'm sorry, I can't. I have a cough." It's like, come on, man. I know you're not sick. It's like, Kane might kill me, and he just shuts the door.
But yeah, they make Kane out to be like this fucking boogeyman, and I don't know why he's so much better at being. I guess the implication is that Spider-Man without his morals would be more powerful because he wouldn't pull his punches. Maybe that's the message they're supposed, but they don't do a very good job of it because he goes from being kind of an idiot to being a fucking assassin in between panels. It's pretty
We've all been
fantastic.
there.
Also, there's a exothermal morphing gelatinous ooze Spider-Man clone that
So,
is basically a ticking time bomb and becomes whatever disfigured monster you need him to be in between panels until he's blown up by a tanker truck. That's pretty
so
good.
I had a comic about Kane from Kane's perspective during the Clone War or Clone Saga, what have you,
Yes.
and uh, my interpretation of the material is that Kane is basically, because he's a failed clone and he's collapsing on a genetic level, sort of in and out of awareness. He goes between dangerously effective and like, "Ugh, must hit Spider-Man." So quite frankly, it almost works if you think of him as like a trauma patient who doesn't know what the fuck he's doing half the time.
All right.
Yeah,
So I
that's
think
that's what I got.
that's a pretty good bit. But yeah, so I was talking about my idea on how to make an undoing of One More Day. And I mentioned in the pre-show that Thomas Firehart was a key part of that. So what it is, right, is Peter is in a New York City office. The CEO has decided to hire him as his failure consultant. And they're like, "What? Yeah, with Parker Industries, you made so many mistakes. You can advise people of all the terrible decisions to make." And he's like, "Wait, that's a real job? You can get a job just by failing enough times?" And Thomas Fireheart's the one who recommends him because Thomas Firehart has a security consulting firm. And, Thomas Fireheart remembers all the times Peter's been a bro to him, and he could use some money. And then he and Peter end up fighting the Serpent Society at the end of the comic. And then Captain America shows up and says, "Peter, I need to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative." But yeah, more people need to remember Puma, although I believe in current continuity, Puma is Felicia Hardy's boyfriend. Not like that matters to her.
Well, and again, that's one of the things that I really liked in the two things that I've read this week is that you get to see so many bit players just kind of pop in and out. Whereas in modern continuity, anytime you see someone, they're going to be a very important part of the story.
Well,
And I think the first time I remember seeing that happen is Civil War when they made Speedball. I think that was his name.
That was Speedball.
in
Yeah,
Independence,
when they made Speedball into Penance and everybody else, and they made him the catalyst of the Civil War. But, Puma's not important to the Clone Saga. You don't need that part. The Vulture, not important. The Owl, not important. Daredevil, not important. Grim Hunter, not important. But they're there. And they pepper in just a little bit of seasoning. And if I had to break it down, modern comic events are a lot like gruel or slop served in a bad kitchen. And they could just be made a little bit better with a little seasoning and these little character moments and these little side stories that flesh out the ideas of what's going on in the event from other perspectives, as opposed to making that this grandiose thing. Tell me things that don't, like, it doesn't need to be a tie-in. And that's where they do those things now. They make you buy new titles that are not part of the event to get outside perspectives and get those little character moments to boost sales. This was in the mainline Spider titles. If you were reading the Clone Saga, you read the Puma story. You were reading the Clone Saga, you read the part with Stunner and Doc Ock. You were reading the Clone Saga, you read the part where Kane murders the Grim Hunter. None of that was essential.
And Aunt May died, but then it turns out that was a clone, so it wasn't real.
So here's a weird
Fuck you,
thing.
Larry. Spoilers.
Here's a weird thing about this. Here's a weird thing about this. It's more about making comics than the specifics of the Clone Saga. During the time of the Clone Saga, until just after, you know what they were still making on the regular, probably at a loss? The
Comics?
the Spider-Man news. Spider-Man was in the funny pages in newspapers.
Some newspapers, if they can afford it.
But they shut it down not long after. I want to say 99, 2000, really early, relatively. But in that sense, when you're,
I want to bounce off of this when you're done, Rune.
All right. My thing is that when you think about a news strip, you've got what, 4 panels roughly?
3 to 4.
Right. So you have your panel that's continuing your story at this point. Boom. And you have your next panel that's the next bit of action. Boom. You have your next panel that's the next bit of action. Boom. And then you can jump scenes to a shadowy office where somebody's on a phone and goes, yes, tell me more. And then when you pick it up next week, you're not going to refer to that one shadowy panel, right? So now you're like, what the fuck was that? Who's that? Who's planning something in the shadows? Well, you follow Spider-Man. They had a really good understanding of timing relative to the limits of their medium, right? And that's reflected in the books, because the books, though they had more space, are by basically the same people, right? So if you had a plot, what's your A plot? A plot is Spider-Man on the quest to solve this clone problem, right? And then you have a B plot, and it's like, okay, what's on the B plot? Villain is going to comment on the A plot. It's like, is he in the A plot? Well, we don't know. You'll have to tune in next week. But what's he have to say about it? Some stuff. Could be interesting. Could be interesting. Could be something here, right? They understood that your stories have to bounce off of each other, interact with each other, even if the B plot is just padding. It's just fluff. That's what they seem to have lost, as you say, because everything is important now. Everything matters by every issue, because you need every component. Which means that no one story is a self-contained story that's actually any good. You have to buy comics by the run to get the story, and even then you're only getting, what, a half of it, a third of the total story? Because if you want to know what other people think about it, you got to buy their perspective in their book.
Well, it goes back to an argument that I've seen made. The direct market was a very short-sighted decision by comic publishers. Huh?
You mean abandoning it?
No. Going to the direct market through Diamond Distribution in the first place was a mistake.
Oh, well, I mean, I consider Diamond actually the abandonment of the direct market.
No. That's eventually what happened. But moving to Diamond in the first place was the beginning of that mistake.
Yeah. But I mean, going to the comic shops was in a real way the abandoning of the direct market.
Yeah. I mean, the newsstand was the pinnacle. When you had to go where everybody went to buy their newspapers and magazines, and you got a stack of comic books, and if you were lucky, you got there before he sold out.
Mm-hmm. So, Rune,
Yeah.
you saw that latest image by our good friends at Wizards on the Coast?
Well, I think you should share that image for the people.
Yes, but I was asking you if you have seen that.
Oh, I have seen it. It has been seen by me.
Just a second. I actually didn't have that saved somewhere for use of
What is my
access.
opinion? I have seen it. You cannot guess what we have seen with our eyes.
1 second. I got.
Where we're going, Larry, we don't need eyes.
I mean, that's pretty good. That's a reference to
Event
uh
Horizon.
yeah. Here we go. Here we go. And I'm gonna turn on the thing.
Before you hit go, I just want to give people, this is your warning. This is your cancer warning. Put on your cancer goggles now. I'm sorry, the goggles, they do nothing. The cancer is real. Continue.
All right, 1 second. Come on. There we go. Almost there. Here we go. Wow. Up. Now, where was that image? Here we go. Come on. Come on, Goofy. All right, you got the image there?
Everybody can't see it, but you're working with it.
1 second. There we go. Here we are.
Yeah. Now, before we jump into this, I want to be clear. This is apparently not a cover of a book, and this is not new art. This is reused art for advertising that no one asked for.
Well, I mean, this is not Pride Month. And this is
Yeah.
clearly Pride Month art.
Yeah. So, welcome to Candyland. Population gay.
I mean, really, what they needed to do was have a rainbow of beams coming out the beholder's eyeballs.
Well, this is one of the things people have jumped on, is they are saying, the beholder is possessing all of these people and forcing them into degeneracy. Because the biggest takeaway from this awful piece of art, besides that it's awful and not very representative of D&D, is how many bigots are actually using it as an opportunity to say the quiet part out loud.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of problems here. Like, first,
Yeah.
the kobolds are they're not very good.
No, they are in fact desperately malevolent.
No,
Everyone's like,
the drawing of the kobolds is not very good.
Yes. People are also jumping on, but the owl bear. But then other people are saying, but after that shit movie, they said you can turn into an owl bear. As if it's just not another facet of how awful this art is.
Also, we have
Guess everyone involved with creating this.
we also have the blue dragon, a nice lawful evil creature enjoying the rainbow.
Is the blue dragon lawful evil? You continue talking. I'm gonna pull that up.
Yes, they are lawful evil. I believe is their.
I'm a check the book. And when people say, "Oh, you mean the fifth ed book?" No, I'm gonna check the actual book.
He's gonna go with the classic manual. That blue troll tiefling, because it's always the tiefling involved in doing some gay stuff with the black guy there. I mean that whole body mechanics and posturing, that's not very good. The I'm guessing
you are
gnome?
correct. The blue dragon is lawful evil.
Yeah. The pink gnome there. I mean that is fine. a gnomish bard. It's fine.
The most inappropriate part about this gnome is just that he's obviously playing an electric guitar on his fucking lute, and the knee slide is just not a thing that would have been done.
So, what do you think about this creative artistic direction here, Rune?
I think it's a nullity. I think it's a fat nothing burger. I do not believe that this actually is a problem, nor that it matters. But my God, everybody wants to be upset about it.
Well, I mean, it matters for several reasons. First of all, on the tweet, it says, "In this realm, your story is yours to tell." So that combined with the gay themes in the artwork it's meant to say, "Hey, be gay in D&D." But
That is one interpretation, and not even one I disagree with. No.
but what if? And I'm just spitballing. What if you had something gay in D&D, like that the TV show I was talking about earlier, where the gay man's struggle is peripheral to the actual interesting parts of the story.
Yeah, because the gay guy's struggle doesn't matter to the adventure, really.
And also on Wizards of the Coast news, they're upset at people over the Spider-Man Magic the Gathering card. Church, are you up on all that?
And because
the
of that,
fact that it's not selling worth a fuck.
no, it's funnier than that. They put up a survey to ask people their opinions, and had a question: were you influenced by influencers? And wanted you to tell them who, where, and when. Because WotC has decided to go after YouTube creators. If you're critical of their material, they want to know who you are.
Yeah. Yeah, that's gay.
But I mean,
I mean, Larry, show us a picture.
There was a really good point though that one YouTube creator made. I obviously won't name them now because the Gestapo might get them. But they're creating entirely too many generic commanders. They've done it again with the Ninja Turtle set. They're making 5-color commanders that are just 5-color good stuff decks.
But what
that don't
if?
matter? They have no personality.
But what if? And I'm just spitballing. What if Magic the Gathering is too goddamn expensive? What if that's why
It is
Spider-Man
too
decks aren't?
goddamn expensive.
Maybe this is why these decks aren't selling.
Hey, we were talking about that guy earlier, but see, that's
We were.
that's
Scroll
not
down,
good. That must be before he fought Venom.
Yeah, but scroll down. Let's see if he's actually any good as a card.
No, he's not.
Let's see here. This is kind of weird to me as a Magic the Gathering card.
Oh,
Yeah, the comic art just does not
they
lend
should
itself
get
to
sued.
the card.
They should get sued.
Oh no, they paid Marvel for this.
No, not Marvel. They should get being sued by the guys who made Sentinels of the Multiverse.
I
That
mean,
was
I'm
Marvel.
sure they.
No,
Sentinels of the Multiverse is a deck builder game.
Sentinels of the Multiverse is a deck building card game, but their internal card structure imagery is comic panels. They did it
Yeah.
first.
Also, Spinneret and Spiderling, also not a good card.
The set wasn't good overall. There was too much filler. It was because so as the resident Magic the Gathering player, take the image down before Rune has a stroke, please.
Thank you.
So I can get this point out.
Hurts.
Take it down, Larry, please.
No.
You're hurting us
He's
both.
fine. He's fine to cripple
fine.
spiders off.
Yeah, I'm not looking
All
at
right.
I'm not looking at special needs, man.
So let me make this point real quick. As a resident Magic the Gathering player, the universes beyond up to this point, besides Lord of the Rings, were not full set releases. So the difference between something like Spider-Man or The Walking Dead or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
Or Doctor
and
Who.
Lord of the hold on. No, there's a reason I said what I said.
Okay.
Doctor Who was just a set of commander decks. It did not have so many cards that it completely lost the plot on what they were creating. Spider-Man was a complete set. That means they had to make upwards of 300 to 400 new cards, and they lost the fucking plot because they didn't have enough thematic uses of in-universe things that fit the Magic theme. So you get hot dog vendor or hot dog card or whatever the fuck it is as a card.
I mean, shouldn't that
You
be a
get
mana?
I think the whip is a fucking instant, for fuck's sake. But my point is, Lord of the Rings was thematically similar enough to Wizards of the Coast Dungeons and Dragons theme that they didn't have to stretch Lord of the Rings into something it wasn't to make it compatible with Magic the Gathering cards. Unlike properties like The Walking Dead or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Spider-Man, two of which are complete sets in Magic the Gathering.
I
So
mean,
these sets aren't going to be as well received. They're not going to thematically match what's going on in any standard environment.
and you're paying
And
like
they're made
$100 for the deck.
no, you're paying $300-400 a box for these cards because of FOMO. Let's see what the price. It probably gone down for Spider-Man, but let's see. And MTG booster box. All right, so a booster box of Spider-Man is $130 right now. A collector booster is $415, 500 in some spots. Boosters are
Jesus.
200 in some spots. Let's look at pre-orders for TMNT though. Pre-orders for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, $260 for a booster box.
I'm just saying these things aren't selling because it's too goddamn expensive.
They're not selling not only because it's too goddamn expensive, but it's not what people want. People have been clamoring since Commander basically exploded to bring back 60 card Friday Night Magic formats. Because I am the kind of person that enjoys going out about once a week, once every 2 weeks, and sitting down for about 8 hours, 5 to 8 hours, and playing 2 to 4 games of Magic. However, you have an entire subset of people out there who became accustomed to over the last
Commander.
15 to 20 years. No, over the last 15 or 20 years to go out every Friday night for about 3 hours and play an entire round robin tournament for prizes for free. And that was a very healthy, fostered environment, and that sold more product than Commander ever will, because in Commander, you only need one. In Standard, you need 4, and you need 4 everything that cycles out every 6 months at minimum. You're constantly tweaking the meta. You're constantly tweaking the deck. You're constantly upgrading or downgrading. You're foiling things out in the limited time frame that you have. You're supporting prize support by paying $5 to show up to maybe win a couple of packs.
You're also
That doesn't
paying
happen
for
anymore because of Commander. There's
you're
too
also
much
paying
Commander support.
yeah, you're also paying for people to get background checks because you want to keep pedophiles out of the tournaments.
Well, usually in the regards that I'm talking about, it's not that big of a scenario. You have a local
Yeah.
guy who comes in and is trusted to be the judge at these events. But that community is not fostered anymore. We just foster Commander now, and some of these Commander decks are getting up to $10 and $12 and $15,000, and those are legacy prices. Back in the day, Standard was the cheap option, and even I thought it was getting a little ridiculous when Standard decks got up to $200 and $300. You know, a budget Standard deck would be $150, and that was still like, it's not really budget, but I can swing it if I can play it for 6 months. because you had
See,
the opportunity to win prize support and make your money back.
I remember when standard decks were like 60, $80.
Well, you could get a standard deck, like a precon or whatever, for that price. But to have a good standard deck, like, yeah, I remember what you're talking about. You're talking about 20, 30 years ago. But standard, I'm talking about when standard fully came into format, usurping vintage and legacy as the format that everyone played pre-modern.
Yeah.
Back when extended was a thing. Nobody remembers extended before modern came about. Extended was this standard set and the last one, but that's all you got to play. Then there was overextended, which was everything with a modern border you could play. Then modern just basically, but anyway, we're getting off topic. Magic's not selling due to a litany of reasons, mainly because I think it no longer has an identity as a card game of itself. Pokemon has never had this issue. You're never going to see the Digimon Pokemon card game set. Okay.
I mean,
It's not going to happen. No, Nintendo will not let it happen.
that'd sell like fucking gangster.
No. I mean, it would, but no. Nintendo's not going to let it happen because it will destroy the identity of the game. And we remember from a little card game by the name of Vanguard what happened when you
Yep.
destroy your fucking identity in a card game.
Yep.
But Magic just took 30 years to do it. They're at the point where they're going to take the money and run, whereas where they should be at this point is abolishing the reserve list and just going to print on demand. They should go gently into that good night, but instead they're just going to burn out and fade away. To quote Highlander.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. We've gotten Highlander, Secret Wars, Amalgam, Clone Saga, The Beyonder, Nick Fury, The Howling Command. We've made a lot of good references this show.
We did. It did.
In matter of point, while you were talking, I was over here deep diving into
Alan Moore's asshole.
No, MTG lore, and I did not realize just how far back Magic had lost the plot.
Oh yeah, I think the Judgment era was about where it started to go off kilter. That when the novels stopped, when the 3 novels per cycle stopped, and they started putting out one book for every cycle instead of one book per set.
So here's the thing.
That's when Magic lore really shit the bed for me.
So here's the thing. I'm an old man.
Me
and
too.
When I was a cub and was getting my first Magic cards, I got Jeldoran
I'm sending
Warrior.
those out to you this week, by the way.
Oh, sweet. I got Jeldoran Warrior and Warrior of Stromgold, which are Ice Age, right?
Yep.
And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking to myself, they got to go back to that shit. That shit was choice. That was flavorsome.
Yeah,
Right?
and then you got Cold Snap. How bad did you hate Cold Snap?
I didn't get to play in Cold Snap, so I missed it. But I'm not talking about play. I'm talking about like themes and story.
Oh yeah.
So I went back and I looked and I limped my way through. I'm like, yeah, Limb Duel was fucking awesome. What the fuck? And I'm scrolling through and it's like, okay, destroyed in the invasion of Dominaria by Phyrexia. It's like, okay, well, the Phyrexian invasion was gonna happen, so I guess that story's done. But they're like, during the Rift era, it was rebuilt. And I'm like, Rift era? So I clicked through the Rift era, and then they're like, then there was the Mending era, and I'm like, okay. And then they're like, and that gave rise to the Omen Path era, and I'm like, all right. And now we have the Omen Paths have opened through the multiverse, and I'm like, what the fuck am I reading?
Nobody
This
knows.
sounds awful.
So what the pinnacle of Magic the Gathering lore for me was right around Urza's Saga and the Weatherlight arc.
Mhm.
Because you had this huge overarching story of the pre-mending planeswalkers who were basically gods,
Right.
and their power armor set to stop the Phyrexian invasion. And then shortly after the Phyrexian invasion, you had the Weatherlight crew and all of their interesting backgrounds, the struggles of Gerard Capshan and Urza between the two of those, just hard-headed cocksuckers. The origin of Karn Silver Golem, the beginning of Squeeze's long storyline.
Well, that's the thing is, I think my stuff is tangential to yours. My favorite bit was, of course, Urza. Urza was great. Urza did all kinds of cool shit. He's basically Merlin for Magic the Gathering, and like I was really into Time Spiral, which is Urza fucked up. Everything is broken.
Teferi's got to fix it.
Right.
We should put a plug in this because it's time to go, and Ayrton's falling asleep.
I'm good.
Yeah,
Well-
you're falling asleep with all of our nerd talk because you can't be involved because you were too fucking cool for school.
It's very
Well,
simple.
hold up.
We're all
Hold up.
nerding, and Ayrton's getting a blowjob. This is how this
Well,
goes.
hold up. Ayrton, can you take us home by talking about?
Oh no, take us home by what we should have played for the intro, but he wasn't here to do it.
Yeah.
Well, Larry's gonna have to do it because I don't have enough
I
connectivity at the moment.
I can do it.
I was going to say, take us home.
Put the link in the private chat for me.
Give me a second. I have to move a small furry creature out of my way because he was demanding attention.
They do that.
They do that.
You know,
Wednesday is when we're getting ours.
You know, Ty also has a small furry creature and was lamenting that it keeps bothering her in Dark of Night because it seems to think that nighttime is when you scurry around to do stuff. You know, as small furry creatures are meant to do.
Yeah. Give me a second.
Did I tell you guys?
Dude, is somebody putting the fucking link in the thing for me?
I'm trying to get it. Give me a.
It's working on it.
It was
There we go.
yesterday. I think I sent it.
Yeah, I passed it. Here we go. Almost there.
I found it. What is this? What up, gangster?
That's it.
All right, I got it. All right. No, I said pause. Goddammit. All right. So this will take us out. We'll share screen. Right, this isn't behind a paywall. All right, there we go. Ready when you are, Larry.
Give me a second. What the heck was that? There we go.
Yeah. We can get pop. We don't care. What? It's going down. Cause I'm around. 50 cents, you know how I get down. What up, cuz? What up, gangsta?
Wait for the verse.
What up, gangsta? They say I walk around like I got an S on my chest. No, that's a semi-auto and a vest on my chest. I try not to say nothing. The DA might wanna play in court, but I'll hunt a duck a nigga down like a sport. Front on me, I'll cut you. Gun butt you, bump you. You getting money, I can't none with you, then fuck you. I'm not the type to get knocked for DWI. I'm the type to kill your connect when the coke price rise. Gangsta, they bump my shit, then they know me. I grew up around some niggas that's not my homie. 100 G's I stashed, the Mac I blasted. Yeah, these come, we dump the diesel and battery acid. This flow's been mastered, the ice I flash. You choke me, I have your mama picking out your casket, bastard. I'm on the next level, bright ring, bigot bezel, Benz pedal to the metal, hotter than a tea kettle. Blood. What up, what up, gangsta? What up, gangsta? We don't play that. We don't play that. We don't play that. We don't play that. G-Unit. We don't play around. Yeah. I back, twist the best bud, burn and wonder. When gangsters want my shit, can they hear my hunger? When the fifth kick duck quick, it sound like thunder. In December, I'll make it block, feel like summer. The rap critics say I can rhyme. The fiends say my dope is a 9. Every chick I fuck with is a dime. I'm like Patty LaBelle, homie. I'm on my own. Where I lay my head is my home. I'm a rolling stone. Cross my path, I'll crush you. Thinking I won't touch you. I'll have your ass using the wheelchair. Can't the crutches. Industry hoe fuckers. In the hood, they love us. Stomp a bone out your ass with some brand new chuckers. What up, blood? What up, cuz? What up, blood? What up, gangsta? What up, blood? What up, cuz? What up, blood? What up, gangsta? We don't play that. We don't play that. We don't play that. We don't play that. G-Unit. We don't play around. We don't play that. We don't.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.